Fresh water is a finite resource, vital for the human being and essential for social and economic development. However, despite its obvious importance for human life, it has only recently become public awareness of its scarcity and the true risk of a global decline in freshwater sources. The surface of water on the planet surpasses abundantly the continental one. More than 70% of the Earth's surface corresponds to seas and oceans. 97.5% of the total water on the planet is salt water, while only 2.5% is freshwater. Of the total freshwater percentage, almost 79% is in the form of permanent ice in the polar ice and glaciers, therefore it is not available for use. Of the freshwater in the liquid state, 20% is found in aquifers that are difficult to access because of the level of depth they are in. In some cases, they exceed the 2,000 meters below sea level. Only the remaining 1% is in the surface and can be easily accessible. These are the rivers and the lakes. This represents 0.025% of all the planet's water, according to an informe of the GEO, América Latina y el Caribe, Perspectiva del Medio Ambiente 2003, Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente, Costa Rica, octubre 2003. Water scarcity is defined as the point at which the aggregate impact of all users has an impact on the supply or quality of water under prevailing institutional arrangements, to the extent that the demand by all sectors, including the environment, cannot be satisfied fully. Water scarcity is a relative concept and can happen at any level of supply or demand. Water scarcity can be caused by many things, for example, accelerated increase of population. According to different expert forecasts, the world population will grow from the current 5.7 billion inhabitants to 8.3 billion in 2025 and about 10 billion in 2050. This will increase the demand for potable drinking water. There are also problems like pollution. Currently, sources of potable water like rivers, for example the Bogota River, receive sanitary waste, industry chemicals, and thousands of other pollutants worldwide. Also, according to the World Health Organization, 80% of diseases are caused by the consumption of contaminated water. In the case of Colombia, water scarcity is caused by the inequity in water distribution. All the major cities in Colombia have access to water, but it cannot be said the same for the rural areas. Since 1990, the percentage of the rural population that has water piped onto their property has increased from 38% to 68%. Although the increase is significant, it means that still 32% of the rural population don't have access to water on their property. And the total percentage that has access to improved water sources on the rural areas has improved from 69% to 74%. It means that still 26% of the rural population is still using water that is potentially unsafe. Besides that, there is the climate change problem. In Colombia, there is the problem of the El Niño phenomenon that causes major droughts during several months of the year, every year in this country. Water scarcity can be the result of two mechanisms: the absolute physical shortage of water and the economic scarcity of water, where the physical shortage of water is the result of insufficient natural water resources to supply water demand in a region, and the economic shortage of water is the result of mismanagement of available water resources. Water scarcity already affects every continent. Around 1.2 billion people, or almost one-fifth of the world's population, live in areas of physical scarcity, and 500 million people are approaching this situation. Another 1.6 billion people, or almost one quarter of the world's population, face economic water shortage, according to UNDESA, United Nations Department of Public Affairs. Around 700 million people in 43 countries suffer today from water scarcity. By 2025, 1.8 billion people will be living in countries or regions with absolute water scarcity, and two-thirds of the world populations could be living under water-stressed conditions. Sub-Saharan Africa has the largest number of water-stressed countries of any region. This year, Colombia had one big problem of water scarcity. It was because of El Niño phenomenon. This was the third strongest El Niño phenomenon in the history of the country. The country's main rivers, the Cauca River and the Magdalena River, achieved their lowest height in history. The Magdalena River achieved 44 centimeters height, while normally it is 2 meters above that height. Besides that, the problem with the temperature made that many people died and animals, and that many crops were dried out, affecting the food supply in the country. Besides that, many wildfires were presented and a lot of water had to be used to put them out. This El Niño phenomenon is the greatest water scarcity cause in Colombia, and it affects the country every year. Water scarcity is among the main problems to be faced by many societies and the world in the 21st century. Water use has been growing at more than twice the rate of population increase in the last century, and although there is no global water scarcity as such, an increasing number of regions are chronically short of water. Water scarcity is both a natural and a human-made phenomenon. There is enough fresh water on the planet for 7 billion people, but it is distributed unevenly, and too much of it is wasted, polluted, and unsustainably managed. Most common initiatives to raise an issue are campaigns by United Nations, like the 2007 Coping with Water Scarcity campaign in 2007, or Don't Let the Future Dry Up campaign in 2013, which seeks to spread the message about using water responsibly, both with domestic and industrial uses. We propose a series of possible solutions. 1. Educate for changing consumption patterns and lifestyles of people. 2. Governments should invest in the infrastructure necessary to take water from rivers and aquifers and distribute it among its inhabitants. 3. Improve irrigation and agricultural practices. About 70% of the world's fresh water is used for agriculture. 4. Improve ecosystem management. Comprehensive management with a common and practical approach to the monitoring of natural resources should be implemented, taking into account economic, cultural, and ecological considerations. 5. Control population growth.